welcome back to another episode of Bully Ball. I figured I'd just hop on here real quick and just break down this last game against the Carolina Panthers. I've been kind of absent on the channel lately. This last weekend I was in Rome with my family, and then the couple games before were primetime games, so they were on super late for me out here in Spain. So I figured I'd hop on midweek, do a little live real quick, kind of break down my thoughts of this past game and just see if we can get anybody on to talk with too. All right, let's get into it.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to cut the...
All right, so like I said, I'll just give a quick recap of the game, go over the box score a little bit. So the 49ers won this last week in Carolina. The final score was 37-15. Joseph was also at this game, so we got to see it live, which was super cool. Jimmy G went 18 for 30 with 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rating of 109.4, which is pretty good. Going down to the running backs, Jeff Wilson had 17 carries, 120 yards for a 7.1 average and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman had 8 carries for 23 yards, which is 2.9 yards average, and then 1 touchdown as well running. And then receiving-wise, Brandon Ayuk led the team with 3 receptions for 58 yards. Kittle was behind him with 5 receptions for 47 yards. Juwan Jennings behind him, 2 receptions, 45 yards. Tevin Coleman, 3 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown, which is pretty impressive. And then Debo and Kyle Juszczyk both had 2 receptions apiece. Juszczyk went for 27, and Debo went for 20 with the touchdown as well. So that was the offensive box score for the 49ers. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, you had Dre Greenlaw, who had 11 total tackles, which is pretty good. He's been on a tear lately with these tackles. Fred Warner had 9. Deommodore Lenoir had 8. Hufanga 5. And then you have some other guys with 4 and 3. A crazy one that you don't want to see a lot that I'll talk on a little bit later is Robbie Gould with 2 tackles. That is something that you don't want to see. So just getting into the game, I thought Jimmy G looked great. I thought this was one of his best games that he's had probably in a while. Kind of looking like that vintage Jimmy G, that like 2019, 2017-ish Jimmy G. He did have a couple of those like boneheaded throws that we're used to seeing him have. So not too mad at it because you expect that at this point. But he did have a lot of throws that you weren't expecting. That throw on the sideline to Tevin Coleman, just putting it up there and giving his receiver a chance downfield. In the past couple years, you don't really see that a lot with Jimmy G. So it's good to see him actually throw it up and give his receivers a chance to make a play. And look what happens. They did. They call them 50-50 balls for a reason because your receiver can go up and make a play. And a lot of times down the field as well, your receiver can draw a penalty, pass interference, a holding, something. So more times than not, your team's going to get a good advantage from that deep ball, just giving him that opportunity. And he also had it to George Kittle down the field, one-on-one coverage. And George Kittle also made the play. So that's something you weren't really seeing a lot these past couple years from Jimmy G. So it's good to see him kind of just letting it loose now, just throwing it out there. He had that good touchdown as well to Debo, just sitting in the pocket, waiting for somebody to come open. Debo got behind, I believe, the linebacker, had a safety behind Debo, and then he got behind the linebacker and came open. So that was good to see as well. It was a super good throw, nice and tight. And Jimmy was fitting these balls into some tight windows, some really tight windows, which was good to see because, like we said, you weren't really seeing that a lot. That Broncos game, a lot of people were skeptical. Looked a little bit better in the Rams game, and then this game definitely took a step up from there as well. So it was good to see Jimmy G kind of back to his vintage self, and just slinging it. I think he's definitely playing with a lot more confidence and just playing a lot looser. I feel like he might have had a lot of pressure on him in the past, and now he's kind of just like, screw it. It's more than likely going to be my last year with the team, so might as well just lay it all out there. And I think it's paying off for not only himself, but the team as well. I'm interested to see if he can carry on that performance to the Atlanta Falcons, because they have some players. AJ Terrell Jr., he's a great corner, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They still have Grady Jarrett. The Falcons played the Tampa Bay Bucks last week, and they played them really tough. They almost won the game. There's that controversial, I think it was roughing the passer that Grady Jarrett had. Who knows? If the Falcons didn't get that penalty, they possibly could have won that game. So it'll be interesting to see the Niners go against that Falcons defense and see how we can respond after a great game last week from us. Moving on, another big reason probably why Jimmy G was so successful was our run game. Tevin Coleman and Jeff Wilson, like I said, they looked great. Jeff Wilson was looking explosive. He was looking like his 2019 self, because I thought last year he definitely took a step back. He didn't really look explosive, couldn't find a hole as much. If you watched our videos in the offseason, I was pretty upset when we brought him back, because I was like, why bring him back? He didn't do anything. When he got those starts when Eli Mitchell was hurt last year, I felt like he didn't really take advantage of him. He didn't make the most of his opportunity. But this year, I felt like he definitely has. He's looked really explosive, finding the holes, decisive, getting in the holes fast, and just going. And it shows, especially in the box score. You figure, like I said, he had 17 carries for 120 yards with a 7.1 yard average per carry. That's great. If you can have that average at all, especially with that many carries, that's great. He had the long run of 41 yards and a touchdown. So that is what you love to see. Same with Tevin Coleman. I was listening to Locked On 49ers podcast. It's with Eric Crocker. And he said every time Tevin Coleman plays the Panthers, he looks like Marshall Faulk, which is true, because every time Coleman plays the Panthers, he goes off. I don't know if you guys remember back in 2019, Tevin Coleman had a crazy game against the Panthers. And then this week he comes out, has that great touchdown run, I think it was like a screen for a touchdown as well. Like our dad says here, Wilson and Coleman look pretty good. Yeah, they look like a great duo. We needed somebody to kind of step up and take that receiving back role, and Tevin Coleman looks like he's doing pretty well in it. Like I said, he had that great catch on the sideline where he mossed that I'm not sure if it was a linebacker or safety, DB, somebody, I'm not sure, but it was a great catch, something I definitely didn't expect from him. And then he also had that screen. So if he can kind of step up more and more each week and take over that receiving role possibly, that'd be great. We lost Jermichael Hasty to the Jaguars this offseason. So we're kind of missing that little scat back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. But if Tevin Coleman could take that, that'd be great. I know we just signed him to the active roster and released Marlon Mack. And then we signed defensive tackle T.Y. McGill for that depth, because Eric Armstead didn't play last week. Javon Kinlaw didn't play last week. They're dealing with injuries, so definitely need the depth there. But, yeah, if Jeff Wilson and Tevin Coleman can keep this up, we're going to be getting Eli Mitchell back as well in a couple weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how that running back room shakes out. But as we know, you can never have too much depth, especially in a Kyle Shanahan running back room, because we are always dealing with injuries in that running back room. So if you can have 3 solid backs in Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Tevin Coleman, and then you still have Jordan Mason as well, which he's not getting many opportunities, which is unfortunate. But still, like I said, you can never have too much depth. It goes fast. The running backs were supposed to be one of the deepest spots on the team, and then you look at it when we didn't even have Tevin Coleman. We're looking really thin. But now these guys are stepping up, so it's good to see. Definitely good to see. And it's going to help out the team and the offense a lot. Jimmy G. It's going to open up things for Jimmy G, for Debo. And that's another thing, too. With these running backs looking so good, you're not going to have to run Debo as much. The Debo runs this year haven't been very successful, though, at all, to be honest with you. So Debo only had 2 carries for 12 yards. Debo's explosive and a game changer at running back, but he also is at receiver. And I think for the longevity of Debo, it would be better to kind of use him more as a receiver than a running back, especially with the runs that Shanahan likes to do up the gut, like between the tackles with Debo. I hate those. Those are a higher chance for injury. You're hitting D tackles, D ends, linebackers instead of like corners and safeties as a receiver. So if you can use Debo a little bit less, maybe give him like 5 carries tops a game, then I'm down for that, because Debo is still a game changer at running back, but I think he's better at receiver and will last a little bit longer at receiver throughout the year, because that guy gets hurt, then we're going to have some problems for sure. Moving on from that, wanted to touch on the O-line, sticking to the offensive side of the ball. I thought it was interesting. Daniel Brunskill, I don't know really what the game plan is for him, but he's switching in at both guard spots. I know the first game he was back, he only played right guard for Burford, but if you notice in this game, he played right and left guard. We all knew that he had that versatility. He could play center, tackle, guard. But I thought it was interesting to have him switching back and forth between right and left guard. I'm not sure why that was. I don't know if Aaron Banks maybe got hurt or gassed maybe. I don't know. But I definitely thought it was interesting to see Brunskill playing both guard spots. Some people, I saw a couple articles saying that Daniel Brunskill should start over Spencer Burford, which is interesting. I think it's good for the rookie to get the development in, especially in these games that you should be winning, hypothetically, against the Panthers, the Falcons. But if Brunskill's the better player, and you got to play him no matter what, because the best players always have to play. So I think that was interesting. I'm curious to see the game plan going forward for Brunskill. Are they going to continue to play him just at guard? Or are they going to try to throw him at center? I'm curious to see that. Maybe he ends up taking that starting right guard spot from Spencer Burford, which would be interesting. He is the vet. He is the Aaron Donald killer, you could say. Every time Daniel Brunskill plays Aaron Donald, he looks like an all-pro offensive lineman. I don't know how he does it, but he looks like an all-pro every time he plays Aaron Donald. So, it's interesting. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But like I said, the more depth, the better off the team is. It's good to have a guy with that versatility that can play both guard spots in case he needs to step in for an injury to either Aaron Banks or Burford. So that's a good thing for the 49ers for sure. Unfortunately, there was some bad news coming out of this game, though. Emmanuel Mosley got injured, torn ACL, out for the season. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I was in Rome. So it was like 2 or 3 in the morning when the game was coming to a close. So I was asleep for the last like 5-10 minutes of the game. So I missed the Emmanuel Mosley injury live. So I woke up the next day and I saw some stuff that he was injured. I was like, oh, shoot, it's not good. He had that pick six, crazy pick six, great return. Emmanuel Mosley is one of the most underrated corners in the league, in my opinion. That dude just be locking people down, and nobody really talks about him. A former undrafted guy. Same with Mooney Ward, an undrafted guy. So it sucks. Sucks to see him go down, especially for the year or two after the great year that he was having so far this year. He had a great year last year as well. So it sucks to see him go down. Makes it a bittersweet win for the 49ers. But I think the Niners will be able to recover from that because you still have some decent depth there. You have Ambry Thomas, who came on great towards the end of last year. And then in this offseason, he kind of fell off. You haven't heard too much about him. He hasn't been playing much at all. He got in a little bit at the end of this game when it was garbage time. But yeah, so you have Ambry Thomas, who's still there, who played great, like I said, at the end of last year. And then you have Jason Verrett as well, coming back from IR, hopefully. They haven't activated him yet, so we'll see when that happens. If it happens this week, maybe next week, couple weeks, I'm not too sure. But as we all know, Jason Verrett, when he is healthy, is a legit lockdown corner. Jason Verrett, all pro level when he's healthy. He showed it in 2020, I believe it was. He's coming off of a torn ACL in week 1 of last year too, so it'll be interesting to see him come back. I probably wouldn't rush him into full game reps right away. I would kind of let him make his way back in, play Ambry Thomas a little bit. At the once E-Man got hurt, it looked like Diamond Lenore went to the outside and Sam Womack was playing the slot, which is interesting because Demo Lenore started in the slot, and then once E-Man got hurt, went outside. So that's interesting. But yeah, if you can have Jason Verrett fully healthy, especially towards the end of the season, that's just going to be great for the 49ers. You probably won't see too much of a drop-off from Emmanuel Mosley to Jason Verrett if Verrett can stay healthy and is himself that we saw in the 2020 season. You probably won't see too much of a drop-off, if not a little bit better from Verrett, in my opinion. So that'll be interesting. Looking at the DBs, I touched on it a little bit. Demo Lenore played in the slot this game. And personally, I thought he struggled a little bit. I thought he gave up a few catches. He was off a little bit. He is a great tackler, though. He made a couple great tackles. If Emmanuel Mosley didn't get hurt, I would definitely have the slot corner opened back up for a competition between Demo Lenore and Sam Womack. Sam Womack, he just has a nose for the ball. You know what I mean? He makes turnovers. Even if it was just in preseason, he made great plays, made turnovers. So I'll definitely open that back up if Emmanuel Mosley didn't get hurt. But it looks like if I was a betting man, I would probably say that it'll be like the end of last game where Lenore will be on the outside opposite of Mooney Ward, and then Sam Womack will be in the slot. So it'll be good to see Sam Womack back out there starting in the slot. Hopefully he can create those turnovers that he made in the preseason. And then looking at the other side of the defensive backfield, at Mooney Ward, I don't know why teams keep trying Mooney Ward. That dude is a savage. He's breaking up passes. He's just clamping people. He gave up one catch to Robbie Anderson, but it was a push off. He pushed off. They try to say he didn't. But if Robbie Anderson didn't push off there, then George Kittle didn't push off in the Super Bowl. So they should have called that. Yeah, Mooney Ward, man. That dude is legit. It's good to finally have it's good to feel as a fan at least, and I'm sure in the team itself, but at least as a fan, it's good to feel that confidence that you have capable corners. Last year our corners were so weak, giving up catches. It was really bad. That one Dolphins game, the Bills game, I think this was the 2020 season. Those games are terrible. We were getting torched. So it's good to finally have some capable corners. It's kind of always been the weakness of the Niners, but now Mooney Ward locking down the one side of the field. It's great to see. Dude's a savage. He's great tackling as well. He had that stop on fourth down. He helped get Christian McCaffrey down at like about a yard short. So that was good to see. Yeah, teams got to stop trying him because he's going to start getting some picks, man. He was just looking lockdown corner, one of the top corners in the league for sure. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat if anybody wants to hop on and talk some ball. Yeah, as our dad says here, great pickup. Ward is legit. Yeah, he is legit, man. He has drip too. He looks good. That number 7 looks good on him. Yeah, it just feels good as a Niners fan to finally have some capable corners to lock down receivers. And, we're going to need it coming up here. You're hitting a rough stretch. Like I said, you have the Falcons this next week. The week after that, I believe you have the Chiefs, which is going to be a tough game. So you're going to need those corners to come through. And then you play the Rams again, October 30th. And then you go on to the Chargers. Tough game. They have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, 2 great receivers. Josh Palmer, he's another underrated receiver. So that's going to be tough. You then play the Cardinals. The Cardinals, they always play us tough. They have DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown is their new addition. He's been playing super good for them. Rondale Moore, they have a lot of little speedy receivers, which will be interesting to see because the 49ers DBs don't have that great of speed, and you're looking at Talanoa Hufanga, Mooney Ward, whoever's playing on the other corner spot, especially Demo Lenore. That's where he gets torched a lot, is deep down the field routes. We saw it in this game. He got beat on a deep route to Shi Smith, so that was unfortunate. But yeah, there's some tough games coming up. We got our dad on right here. What's going on?
What's up, Bully Ball? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just out here in Arizona, seeing all these Cardinal fans thinking they're doing something big this year.
How's so what did you think of the game? Who was a player that stood out to you?
Jimmy G had some nice throws in there. I'm gonna give him some credit because we always ride on him. He had some tight passes and some pretty good situations. He came through for us. The receivers, they made some hella good catches too, but Jimmy did good. I'm getting a little bit of confidence back in him. Hopefully he could get us through some of these games and carry us out this time.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I feel like the run game finally being so successful probably helped with that. It kind of sucked up the linebackers and DBs a little bit to respect that run game first because these last few games, our run game wasn't that successful. But yeah, Jimmy G, there was some tight window throws where I watching it live, I was like, I don't know if that was a good throw or if we just got lucky. But yeah, he was making some nice throws. What'd you think of him giving the opportunity on those deep balls to Tevin Coleman and Kittle? Because that's something we didn't see a lot. We don't see him throwing down the field that much these past few years, but this year he's done it a couple times. What'd you think?
I liked it, and he hit him right. Because that was one thing I always said about Carr. Carr be throwing downfield, getting those penalties and shit, and that drags them all the way down the field all the time. So I do like it that he's going with that. He's throwing it out there. We're getting some. We got a couple penalties, I believe. I like it. And Coleman, man, he came. I don't know what he was doing. Where was he before we picked him up?
The Jets.
Was he on the team?
With the Jets.
Because he came right in, and that boy, for just coming on the team, a week before or something, he did a hell of a job too.
Yeah, definitely. There's also the throw that we forgot since it wasn't completed, but it was that throw down the field to Ayuk as well. He kind of threw it on the outside shoulder to Ayuk. Ayuk didn't catch it, but it was a super accurate throw. He gave that opportunity to Ayuk to catch it. I mean, Ayuk should have caught it. It was in his hands. Ayuk usually catches those too, I feel like. So, but it was a great throw. Those are three passes that you don't really see from Jimmy G. And I think, like I said, it's a little bit more confidence in himself, playing a lot more freely. He looks a lot happier out there. So it's great to see. It's great to
Yeah,
see.
I agree. I
Um,
agree with that.
what did you think about Mooney Ward? He, like I said, that dude is a savage. He's locking down top receivers like no other. I mean, I knew he was good, but I definitely didn't think that he was this good.
Yeah, I agree. I see like a little bit younger Sherm, than when we had him. We
Yeah.
and every they keep trying him too, and he keeps knocking it down. He's breaking them up. That was a great pickup for us right there. Like you said, we finally have confidence in our corners, and we
Yeah.
we
He
talked
said
about that for years.
yeah. He said too that um yeah, if they keep trying him that he's going to get a pick eventually, so they got to stop trying him. I mean, it's crazy because these receivers will have the ball in their hands and he finds a way to just knock it out, to get his hand in there somehow and just swat it away like just a legit lockdown corner. It's like we said, it's great to see. It's great to have confidence finally in our corners. Um Moving on from that, another injury, unfortunately, Nick Bosa, had that growing tightness. I think he went down in the second quarter or so. Um, so that's unfortunate. Question for you: if you were Kyle Shanahan, and you're playing this Atlanta Falcons team that's struggling a little bit, especially on offense, they're down their key playmaker in Cordell or Patterson. I think he's on IR for the next few weeks, so he's not going to play. Marcus Mariota struggling a bit. The run game struggling a bit. Would you play Nick Bosa and risk that chance of re-injury, especially on another turf field? Because a lot of the players complain about the turf fields and say that's the reason for their injuries. Nick Bosa tore his ACL on a turf field against the Giants or the Jets in New York. I don't
Giants.
remember which New York team we were playing, but that's where he tore his ACL, was on turf. So would you play Nick Bosa this week if you're Kyle Shanahan?
No, because that's one of those injuries that could keep lagging and lagging and lagging, carry out the whole damn year. I wouldn't. And the other
Yeah.
guys stepped up. We still got a couple sacks in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you leave him out this game, let him get 100% healthy, bring him back against the Chiefs because you're going to need him against the Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to need that pressure on Pat Mahomes. If Bosa's not out there against the Chiefs, it's going to be a long game. Um, I think the backups can get it done this week against the Falcons. Kerry Hyder, Charles Omenahu, Samson Ebukam. You still Drake Jackson got a sack this last week, so you still have a lot of depth there, and I feel like those guys are adequate enough to get the job done. To get at least some pressure on Marcus Mariota, because I'm sure the Falcons O line isn't great. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you have Bosa, Kinlaw, and Armstead out, that's gonna be a combination for a disaster. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Your D line went from one of the deepest on the team to now one of the shallowest, to where you don't have really anything. So I would definitely not um, not have Bosa play this week, especially against a team that you should beat. We're going into this game as easily winnable game against this Falcons team. So I think I agree. You don't let him play. Keep him healthy. and just bring him on fresh against the Chiefs for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, do you have a? How are you on time? Are you tight on time?
No, I got a couple minutes.
All right. Moving on to the special teams. You know, I don't know what's going on with these special teams, man, because having Robbie Gould tackle twice is terrible. And then you also had a blocked field goal in this game. I think we had a field goal blocked last game too, right? Or something happened last week with the special teams. I think it was a blocked field
Yeah,
goal
I
against the
think it was.
Rams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's terrible. You know, the special teams sucked last year, and it's not looking good this year either. I don't know what's going on, but they need to figure it out and figure it out fast because the defense is playing so good, so good. But when the offense is getting the ball at the 50-yard line, like they're bound to give up points. You only need 10, 15, 20 yards to get a field goal out of that. You know what I mean? That can change a game, especially if the offense is sputtering a little bit. So you need your special teams to be on point. You know, you signed Oren Burks, you signed George Odom, you signed Ray McLeod. You know, these guys weren't signed to be starters on offense or defense. They were signed to be starters on the special teams. Why aren't they making the plays? They need to step up, make these plays. The coaches need to figure out what's going on. You know, we have that new coach, John Schneider, I think his name is, from the Seahawks. He needs to figure it out quick because when you're playing those better teams, like we said, you're playing Chiefs, Chargers, the Raiders. Their record's not great, but they're still pretty good. Rams even, Cardinals. If you're letting them get the ball at the 50-yard line, they're going to put up points. No matter how good the defense is, they're going to put up points if you're getting the ball at the 50-yard line. So they need to figure it out fast because that shit is unacceptable. Robbie Gould got hurt. You know, I think he hurt his non-kicking knee. So we had to sign a kicker, Matt Sloman. I think he was from the Rams or something. Yeah, they need to figure it out fast because special teams is very important. You know, it's one of the most overlooked things in football, but it's very important because field positioning can change a game like that. You know, look at that Super Bowl, 2012 Super Bowl. Jacoby Jones takes back that kickoff at halftime. Was it halftime or was it the start of the game? Halftime.
It was right after halftime.
Yeah. So that's, you know, special teams can change a game quick. No matter how good you're doing, quick special teams play, boom. Like the Seahawks game last year, you know, when they did that fake punt for a touchdown, changed it fast. So, yeah, they need to figure it out.
Well, you remember that one year when that guy kept fumbling the ball on kickoffs twice? I think
Kyle
it was
Williams.
a championship game. Yeah, against the Giants, wasn't it?
Yep. Shit, that's another thing. Ray McLeod, you know, they've signed that dude. I think it was like 3 years, $30 million. I don't know if it's our punt coverage team that's not blocking well or something, but he is not doing anything on these punt returns and kickoff returns at all. He's fumbling. You know, luckily we're getting the ball back, but he's fumbling. It's getting scary for me to where I'm like,
I've been scared.
No. Yeah.
I've been scared. Every time we go, I'm like, oh shit, man. And then I think wasn't it last game he fumbled one.
Yeah.
Bad. You know, I'm like every time it's oh shit, man. Here we go.
I think against the Rams he fumbled twice or something, or in the game before that he fumbled too. So, like I said, special teams coordinator needs to figure it out fast because once you start playing these better teams, it's gonna bite you in the ass. So they need to figure that out. And then our mom saying 100% let him rest. Talking about Bosa. Yep, gotta let him rest. Gotta have him healthy. He's one of the best players on the team. Another good thing was to see George Kittle, the usage at first. You know, it was clearly in the game plan to hit George Kittle. Clearly, get George Kittle going early and often. And, he was taking advantage of that. Like I said, he had that great catch that was down the field from Jimmy G. And then he had a couple other good catches and some yak after it. Then he had that fumble. And I saw this on the live broadcast that he's only had like 2 fumbles lost in his career. But I think I remember his last fumble lost was last year, maybe in the playoffs or towards the end of the season. And it just seems like when he loses them, they're at like the most inopportune times. Because in this game, he fumbled that, and it was like on our second drive. And then he fumbles it. They get the ball in our territory. Luckily, they missed that field goal. But shoot, that could have changed the game fast. But we need to get him the ball more still, no matter what. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. When he has the ball in his hands, he makes plays. He's like Debo. The bad thing is I don't think he is going to get that usage until Trent Williams comes back because they're going to need him to block. But you have Charlie Warner, who's a pretty good blocker. I don't see why you don't just have Charlie Warner block and let George Kittle run around and get the ball. What are your thoughts about Kittle? Nope. Looks like our dad got cut off. Phone probably died, lost service, something. But yeah, you need to feed Kittle. You need to get Kittle the ball no matter what. And when you do that, he changes the game. He's like a Debo type player. When he has the ball in his hands, he makes plays. So feed George Kittle just like you're feeding Debo because that's going to help the team greatly. We touched on Diamador Lenore, touched on playing outside corner. Like I said, I'd probably let Ambry Thomas get some reps, see how he does. Maybe it seems like they're probably going to start Lenore on the outside with Womack in the slot, which is going to be interesting because Diamador Lenore struggles, like I said, against those fast receivers. The Cardinals have a lot of them. A lot of teams have them. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays against that. Same with Ambry. Ambry's not obviously a great corner either. Everybody remembers him getting mossed every game last year. So that's not the best. Hopefully, like we said, Jason Verrett can come back and contribute and be healthy because if he can, that's going to be huge. And finally, I'll finish it off here. He's going a little bit longer than I thought, but it's good to just talk about this game. Had a lot of thoughts about it. My bully of the week. Like we said, we do this segment every week where we emphasize a player that just really demonstrates that bully ball style of play, just physical, just bringing that juice, hitting dudes, seeking out contact. So Joseph's bully of the week before the game was Dre Greenlaw, which was a pretty good pick because Dre Greenlaw had 11 tackles, and he played really well. He had some good stops against Christian McCaffrey in the open field. I think it was on like a third or fourth down. He had a pretty good open field tackle, which is hard because Christian McCaffrey is one of the most like shifty running backs in the league. So it was good to see Dre Greenlaw come out. That was a great pick by Joseph for the bully of the week. But my bully of the week from this last week after watching the game, he didn't have the best stats. He didn't have many stats at all. But when he does have the ball in his hands, this dude just is so physical. He's setting the tone. He's running hard. He's running angry. He's seeking out contact. He's making plays on third downs. And that's Mr. Third Down, Jawan Jennings. When that dude gets the ball, he just turns into an animal. He's not like he's huge. I mean, he's tall. He's like 6'3", but he's not very stocky. But that dude, when he gets the ball in his hands, he just goes crazy. So that's my bully of the week. He only had like 2 catches for 24 yards, I think it was. Let's see. Jawan Jennings, 2 catches, 45 yards. So a lot better than 24 yards. But though he makes the most out of his opportunities, he's Mr. Third Down. When you need him to come up, he comes up big. And Jimmy G even said, too, after the game that we need to get the ball more to Jauan Jennings, and I agree because, like I said, he is going to seek out contact. He's going to stiff arm people. He's going to truck people. So Jauan Jennings is my bully of the week for week 5. And then Joseph and I should be back on. I think Joseph's at work today, so that's why he wasn't able to hop on with me today. But shout out to my dad for hopping on and dropping some good knowledge with us, just talking some ball. It's always fun. So thanks for coming on, Dad. And then, like I said, we're looking for a Falcons channel right now to do a collab with before this week's game. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be doing that. And then I think this week we'll be back to going live an hour before the game to talk with you guys, kind of get some little pregame talk going on, get juiced up, should be fun. So tune in for that as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're doing pretty good on the subscribers. Our goal was to hit 150 by mid-season. So I believe that's about week 8 or week 9. So we're getting close. We're at 132. So we're 18 subscribers away from our goal of 150 by mid-season. So if you guys could subscribe for us, it would be greatly appreciated. It goes a long way. Go check out our short videos. Joseph put out some exclusive videos from his time at the Panthers game this last week. So go check those out. You got a Tevin Coleman touchdown, a Deebo Samuel touchdown. You got the Panthers fans chanting to fire Matt Rule, which ended up happening shortly after the game. So go check out that one. We're just trying to put out some great content for you guys. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to our day one fans that always hop on with us and talk with us. And look forward to growing the channel. But with that being said, see you guys later. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you probably at least guaranteed Sunday, an hour before the game. So tune in for that. Peace.